I guess so. So here we go. We'll go over those. Well, I forgot to go over those. We'll do those later. So let's start back in here. As we get over, you can open your Bibles up to Genesis. Guess what we're going to go over today? We're in Joseph, right? We're going over Joseph. Now, I'm telling you, man, I'm telling you, we're getting close to the end of this deal, right? So a few more weeks. We're a few more weeks, and we're going to be out of this. Maybe. Well, I say that, but I don't know if that's true or not. You know, we're praying that the Lord leads after that. So let's get back in. Let's go back over to Genesis, and we're gonna start out, and I'm gonna kind of see where we were last week. I get that's always interesting too. Okay, so Genesis, and we're gonna go over there to chapter 43. Okay, Genesis 43. Let's just tell where we were, where are we going right now, where the boys and the sons have all come over, right? Now they have entered into the house, right? They've entered into Joseph's house. They were afraid of that. They were scared of that. Well, what happened when they went in there is that Joseph made them feel welcome, right? He welcomed them in. All the stuff that went on, right? He showed them friendship. They brought him all the stuff. You know, Sharon got a kick out of me saying pistachios last week. I don't know. You know, brought him pistachios in and brought all these goods in, brought all this stuff. They bowed down to him. They did this. Was Joseph really concerned with all that stuff? No, man. He didn't care about this stuff. It's kind of like the thing with us with the Lord, right? The Lord doesn't really care that we're giving this and we're giving that and we're doing. The Lord wants a relationship with us. He wants to deal with us. He wants to have our heart. He wants us to love him. And that's what he wants. And that's what Joseph was. He's like, he wanted the relationship with his brothers. So they're having this relationship. He sees Benjamin, right? What does he do when he sees Benjamin? What does he do? He weeps, right? He goes into his separate room and he weeps. I thought that was a good point as far as when you're looking at, with Benjamin and him stepping back and weeping and going into a different room. Why do you have to go into a different room to do that? Why didn't he show his brothers that he could to weep in front of them and show that he was, because he had all this feeling and this compassion and this love for his brothers. You know, why was he doing that? He didn't want to show weakness, right? He had to keep in his stance of that he is the Egyptian ruler, right? He also wasn't done with his brothers, right? And it's kind of like, and I said last week or whatever, that as we are disciplining our family or we're trying to lead people in the way we need to go, it's okay to be compassionate. It's okay to have feelings and do, but we gotta kind of put that in the corner, and we got to deal with the situation that's at hand. His goal was to get them more righteous. As we deal with our family, our kids, whoever it is, our goal is to get them following, or your goal should be to get them following the Lord, right? That's hard love sometimes, right? That's hard love sometimes. And you got to come back out and say, okay, man, I've dealt with that, but that does not change the fact that we've got to deal with what's going on in your life, because my goal is not to make my family happy necessarily, right? As I want to make my family happy. I want to make people happy. My goal is to help people to come and get closer to the Lord. I mean, period. So you got to do what you got to do, right? Now, that doesn't say that we shouldn't be compassionate. Joseph was compassionate, right? Joseph loved his family. That's what we've got to have that kind of border on that. We love our family. We love our people we're dealing with, but we got to give them that hard truth in their life too, right?
The truth in love. And, it's so easy to get mixed up with wrong idols, false idols, and follow the wrong thing. And I know Smith preached last week, and he talked about 2 Corinthians, about, following people of like mind.
Right.
And that, it's very easy to get mixed up in someone or things that drive you a wrong direction.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. And you look over here at Psalm 103 and verse 8, and it says, the Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in mercy, right? Are we slow to anger? Are we merciful? Are we abounding in mercy? Do we love people? I got fired up yesterday again, man, changing a stupid lock, man, got fired up, man, might have thrown something. I don't know, man, just maybe, and it's just the way it is. So here we go. So he's moving down, right? He's compassionate for his people. He loves his people, but he has to do the thing that has to be done. He has to teach the brothers that, look, we're going for righteousness here. And that's what he's doing. So as you move down there, he comes back out, he sets them at a table, right? And we're over here in Genesis 43. And we're going to go down here
Church.
To
My brother-in-law teaching the Bible.
Verse 32, and it says, so they're all sitting around this table. Now, this is important right here, okay? And this is just what we were just talking about. They set him a place by himself, them by themselves, the Egyptians by themselves, okay? They separated them out because the Egyptians thought that they were better than, they thought that they were literally people of God, man. They thought that they were better than people, and they could not intermingle with people, and they didn't want to sit at the same table, even though Joseph was their ruler, right? He was over all of them, but he still had to sit at his own table. The Egyptians had to sit at their own table. All the Hebrew brothers had to sit at their own table, right? Separated them out. Why is that? Why is that important? What does that make sense to us? Or why does that even matter? Does anybody have a reason on that? We talked about last week that what was the goal for the Hebrew children? What was the goal for Israel, and what was his plan for them? He wanted to do what? Why was Joseph over there to begin with? Why was he sent over there to begin with? Yes, the brothers sent him, but why was he sent over there? Because that is where he had to go, because he was going to be separated, so he wouldn't intermingle with the Egyptians, right? So that they wouldn't intermarry. What were the Hebrew children doing over there in the land of Canaan? What were the Canaanites doing with the Hebrew children, with the Israelites? Intermarrying. They were getting off track. They were doing their thing. As you look at this, where they were segregated over here in Egypt, the Lord knew the final plan was to bring the children over there so they would not get caught up with the Egyptians. They would not get caught up in all their false worship. They would not get caught up with all that stuff, so that he could build up a nation of them, right? Because there were only 70 of them right now. That was Jacob's family. That was all that there was. He was going to bring them over and build them up. And what I want to turn to, let's just look at this real quick. Romans 12 and verse 2. And this is, I want you to think about this in your life, because just like they were segregated there, right? How should we be in our life? How should we be in our life? Just like the preacher preached last week, right? Romans 12. And I'm just going to read this, verse 1, and then we're going to move forward. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable to God, which is but your reasonable service, and do not be conformed to this world. That's what he's saying when he brings those Hebrew children over there. He doesn't want them to be conformed to the society, to the world. When they're over there in Canaan, right, they're being influenced by the world. As we go out and we do our thing, what are we? Are we being influenced by the world? Are we being conformed? Take a look at it. Take a look at the church that we're in right now. Take a look at the state of the nation. We are no longer holding our ground. I'm just telling you, we're going backwards. It says, do not be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed to the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is a good and acceptable and perfect will of God, right? We've got to, and that's his whole goal right here. The Lord's whole goal is to pull them out of the land of Canaan, bring them over to Egypt, so that they can get more focused on him and that's why they're sitting at segregated tables right there. Okay. So that's a good point. The Lord does whatever he does. It is not just happenstance, right? He doesn't do things just by coincidence. Oh, they just rolled over here and they did. No, he does this stuff because he is, he's got a plan for us in our life. He's not doing things just by chance. He's doing things because he has a plan. He sees every piece of the puzzle, that he sees how it goes together, and he is putting it together daily. We don't see it, right? We try to jump out of it. We try to open doors that are closed. We try to go through, we try to close doors that are open. That's just us. So as you look at this, now this is there's another point here. So he said they're all set by themselves at tables, right? Now it says, look at verse 33, Genesis 43:33. And it says, they sat before him. And this is something I want you to think about, because like I said, everything Joseph is doing is setting it up for future events. Just like everything that God's doing in our life is setting up for future events. It says that he sat him at the table, firstborn according to his birthright, the youngest according to his youth, and the men looked at astonishment in one another. You have 11 boys right there, right? And Joseph doesn't know, or supposedly doesn't know who they are, right? He sets them up, 11 of them, in order of their birthright. They're pretty close in age, some of them. They probably all look about the same, man, because they're all brothers. They're all So he sets them up. Now, what are the chances of that? What did we say last week the chances were? 1 in 40 million. Now that you would, I'll tell you what, I can't even remember. And I was thinking this morning, man. I can't remember when my mother's birthday is, man, when my dad's birthday is. I can't remember when my kids' birthdays are. My wife has to say, make sure you call your mother, make sure you call your daughter, make sure you call your dad, right? I couldn't even set my family up, 5 of them, in the order of when they're at. There's 11 kids here that he sets up in the perfect order, right? And they're looking at each other thinking, what in the world, man? How is he able to do this, right? Well, we're going to find out later on. He has a reason for doing that. They don't know that he's related to them, okay? They don't know that that's his brother. They don't know that he knows them. So there's a reason that he's doing that, because he's trying to grow them as people. So next point, as we move down right here, they took their servings this is down here in verse 34. It says, then he took servings to them from before him. Now, I think that's really nothing there to that, but who was the one that served them? What does it say right there? Then he took servings to them from before him. That is Joseph serving his brothers. The brothers that put him in the pit, man, the brothers that disregarded him, the brothers that wanted to kill him, the brothers that tried to starve him in the pit, they didn't listen to him. He's the one that brought them and served them. How do I do in my life with serving people? How do I do humbling myself and serving people? Probably not as good as I should, right? But he is the king, man. He should be served, just like when you put him as far as with Jesus, right? That's the picture that he is. The Lord, what did the Lord do for us? The Lord came down here and served us, right? The Lord was the one who came down here and sacrificed himself for us, right? Do we serve other people, or do we just expect people to serve us all the time and to do for us and whatever? So he served them. I thought that was an interesting point. And it says he took from before him. Benjamin's serving was 5 times as much. This is where we ended last week. Why was Benjamin serving 5 times as much? We heard a couple different answers. So I'm going to tell you the one answer that we heard was because he was trying to bless him, right? Because he loved him. He hadn't seen Benjamin, right? Who was Benjamin? He is the son of Rachel. He's his full-blooded, he never had a relationship with him, never got to know him, never got to bring him up, never got to help him. So he's like, he's filled with compassion, man. He's filled with love. So he wants to bless him, right? I mean, just straight out of the gun. Why else would he give him 5 times as much as his brothers? What is the other reason on that? To make up for the loss. Well, he did that. But what would be the other reason? Who was sitting around that table with him? Who was sitting with Benjamin? He had his 10 brothers sitting with him, right? What was the deal with Joseph? Why did they hate Joseph so much? Because he was favored, right? Has Benjamin been favored? Did Jacob favor Benjamin? I mean, he didn't want him to go on the trip. He sheltered him. He gave to him. When Joseph was put out, right, Benjamin fell right into that spot where he was the favored child. He was the one that was protected. He was the one that was loved on more. So now here goes, you remember Joseph's trying to see if these brothers have changed, right? So what are they going to do there? He's saying, okay, man, you guys have done pretty good so far. You brought Benjamin over. You've done everything I wanted. You're acting nice. You're acting good. So let's see how you do when I give Benjamin 5 times more than I'm going to give you guys. As they're sitting there and they're getting this and they serve him up this 5 times more, and they're looking at each other like, what, why is he getting more than I'm getting? What's the deal on that, right? There was also another, and we're going to talk about that because that's important in our lives right there. But there's also another thing, and this is what was brought up last week by somebody that I never really even thought about, man. He gave all these. Now, look what it says right here. But Benjamin's serving was 5 times as much as any of theirs, right? Because he loved them, because he wanted to bless them, but also because he wanted to test his brothers further, okay? And it says, so what'd they do? So they drank and were merry with him. So they were drinking, they were eating, they were happy with him. Why? When it says they were drinking, man, right? When it talks about they drank and they were merry with, what happens? He's giving them, you think he's giving them wine or whatever as they're sitting around this table and they're getting married. What does it mean they're getting married? They're getting happy. They're getting a little loose. They're getting whatever you want to call it, right? They're getting loose lipped. Now, so tell me, how do we do, right? I remember my past, man. You put a few drinks into me and what would I do? I'd tell you anything you want to hear, man. I'd let you have it, right? So you think that Joseph probably he's given Benjamin 5 times as much as the other brothers. These guys already have this thing that, hey, he's already been spoiled. He's already been what? Joseph's trying to see, do you really love your brother? Have you really changed? Or are you just kind of trying to make me feel better, right? So he feeds them a little wine, right? They start to get married. And he's seeing if they're gonna get fired up, because this is the time that they would get fired up, right? And they would get upset about that. And if you look at that, I mean, they're doing pretty good, man. They were married, they were doing all right, they were okay. So that's why he did that, though. You could take this out in your own life. What about when you're drinking and getting loose-lipped and doing whatever? How does that do with your testimony? I'm not here to tell you whether you should drink, whether you shouldn't drink, man. That's the Lord in your life, and that's your convictions and things. You better be careful when we're drinking and when we're doing things and when you're doing whatever, because I'm telling you, not a whole lot of good things come from that stuff. We've all been there before. We'll all be there again, man, right? I mean, your mindset before you go into it. Sure, absolutely. And it's just, okay, that's that's where we're at on that, right? So he feeds this to them, gives them a little wine, they're getting married, right? So my question is, and this is what I was thinking about, and this is what I want to kind of go to. They did pretty well when he was blessed, right? When he was blessed more than they are. How do we do? That's the question I want to ask. Is when somebody else, and this is me, okay? When I see somebody else in my life that I think, man, I'm working harder than they are, I'm doing more than they are, I'm witnessing more than they are, I'm trying more than they are, and man, these people are getting blessed, man. And why is this guy getting a new car and I'm not? Why does this guy have these people? Why is this guy having a relationship? Why is it? And tell me that this going forward, that just this past week that somebody in here didn't deal with that, thinking, man, I'll tell you what, I'm the one working, I'm the one doing this, and you're blessing these other people. This is where we live right here. And so I want to let's think about a couple examples here in the yes. Just this week.
Dealing with the IRS, or like my future. Where do I go? Well, I feel trapped because my husband has the same
Sure.
15 years, and it's all falling on me. And so I've got that caring attitude.
Oh yeah.
And so
how are we doing?
Last Sunday, 1 week ago, John 21, it reminds me Peter, who always thought, loved Jesus most. And Jesus asked him, do you love me?
Right.
Not 1 time, not 2 times, but 3 times. And what was Peter's response? Well, what about him?
Yeah. What about the other person?
He said, if I want him to remain alive until I return, what is that?
That's right. What it?
So I was like, that jumped off the page.
Right. We've got to realize, and I want to. There's a few examples right here of people that are being blessed, and how should we be? And I'm going to give you a couple examples right here that you can think of. What about with Cain and Abel? What happened with Cain and Abel? You had Abel who gave a better offering, right? Cain said, why is my offering not as good? And God said, look, he gave a better offering. I'm going to bless him. What did Cain do on that? Cain decided to turn around and kill. Was there a consequence on that? The Lord said, I can hear his blood crying out from the ground on what you did to him, right? I can hear that. And he's like, look, and what about what about Saul and David? I just wrote these down. What happened with Saul and David? Saul is the king, right? He's the king that was appointed by the people. David comes in there, and then the people are yelling when he comes back from killing the Philistine. When he comes back to that, they say, hey man, Saul has killed his thousands and David has killed his tens of thousands. And you can look over there, 1 Samuel 18. I'll read it to you because this and how his anger arose out of that. 1 Samuel, and let's read that 18. And I just can't get over the fact that how do we deal with when people are more blessed than we are? 1 Samuel 18, I'm in 2 Samuel. Here we go. And verse 6, right? 1 Samuel 18, verse 6 says right here, it says that when they returned, now it had happened as they were coming home, when David was returning from the slaughter of the Philistine, that the women had come out of the cities of Israel singing and dancing to meet King Saul with tambourines, with joy, and with musical instruments. So the women sang and danced and said, Saul has slain his thousands and David his 10,000s, right? David is now being, lifted above Saul. And it says, then Saul was very angry, and they sang, and the saying displeased him. And he said, they have ascribed to David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed only thousands. Now what more can he have but the kingdom? So Saul eyed David from that day forward. How do we do in our life when somebody is blessed when we don't feel like they should be blessed? What does the Lord say to us on that? Right? I mean, just think about that. The Pharisees did it to Jesus continually, right? They continually tried to stop him up, and they said, look, we have all these laws and all these things, and I'm living better than you are, and I'm doing it, and the people are starting to follow you, and what's going on with that? And they tried to kill him, and they tried to put him under the bus, and they tried to get him in hypocrisy. And I mean, right? So let's think about, on the other hand, let's look at this example. And I want you to turn over to John 3. Let's turn to John 3, because this is the way that we need to be. We need to, does it matter that somebody else is blessed beyond us, or that somebody is getting more than we're getting, or somebody's getting more than their fair share? I mean, really, the question is, do we feel like when you do that, you feel like you are not being blessed? Let me tell you what, as you look at us and you look on here, how blessed are we? I don't care if I got nothing else from this point on. We have been so blessed that we need to be thankful, instead of comparing ourselves to somebody else and saying they're getting more than I'm getting, and they're getting more than I'm getting, and I'm having to do more work. We need to be thankful. Lord, thank you that I can get up and go. Yeah, first world problems. That's right. Yeah, when you think of what Sharon's saying, first world problems, that is like, you look over there in third world countries, right? They don't have water, man. They're lugging their water from a stream that's 2 miles away. They don't have food. They don't have shelter. They don't have, and we're over here complaining, man, this guy has a 2020 car. Mine's a 2017 car. Man, Lord, he has leather and I have cloth. What is that, man? I'm just telling you, that's the way we deal with life, right?
I try to remember about the saying, about the saying of, what if you only woke up for what you thank God for the next day? Like, if
Right.
Forget to thank him for things. What if you woke up the next morning and had nothing?
That's right. He gives us everything.
For anything.
It's so
I mean-
easy to think we're in control.
No.
And this is just given to us.
Yes, that's right.
For me, this past week, I had to do a lot of planning, people. We're blessed beyond measure. This was the fact we woke up.
Yeah, that we woke up and could get out of bed and go to work. And
What you were really.
yep, turn over here to John, and this is the attitude that we need to have. Okay, this is the attitude that we need to have. John 3 and 22, and it says, after these things, Jesus and his disciples came into the land of Judea, and there remained with them and baptized. Now John was also baptizing in Aenon near Salim, because there was much water there, and they came to him and were baptized, for John had not yet been thrown into prison. Then there arose a dispute between some of John's disciples and the Jews about purification. They came to John and said to him, Rabbi, he who is with you beyond the Jordan, to whom you have testified, behold, he is baptizing, and all are coming to him. What was John's goal? What was he there to do? He was to make way for the Lord, right? He was to prepare the way for the Lord. That was John's goal. Okay. So when Jesus came, and now all of a sudden it's saying that, behold, they're all going to Jesus. What's going on? They're not coming to you anymore. And what is John saying? John answered and said, a man can receive nothing unless it has been given to him from heaven. He says, you yourselves bear me witness that I said, I am not the Christ, but I've been sent before him, right? And it says down here in verse 30, it says, he must increase, but I must decrease. He who comes from above is above all. What is our attitude on how we present and how we approach life? Do we feel like we deserve more than anybody else? Yeah. I mean, have we gotten to that point where we are humbling themselves? And I bring it back to Benjamin because look, Benjamin may be getting 5 times more than his brothers at this table, right? But the brothers are what? Are the brothers outside in the cold and they're sitting outside and they got nothing in there? No, the brothers are still in the house. The brothers are still being fed. The brothers are still being blessed. And they're saying, you know what, man, maybe I'm not getting as blessed as so-and-so, but I'm telling you what, Lord, I'm still blessed. And I just want to thank you for the blessings that you've given me. And the
Lord's always going to provide our needs.
Right.
What you need is different than what I need.
Absolutely.
And, we all have wants.
And
but it's the Lord providing. And, until I accepted that years ago, I did. It would consume that somebody was getting by with something, or somebody was doing something, and instead of focusing on the right things, years ago, I would focus on the wrong things of, well, that's not fair.
Right.
But now you have to look at it like, look, my needs are met, and
we don't know what's
That's
going
what I
on
was
behind the
getting
scenes.
ready to say. I don't know what they're wanting.
And you that's right. You don't know where somebody else is at. Right. We're seeing just what's on the outside.
Exactly.
And just like you're saying, does God owe us anything?
No.
Does the Lord owe us anything, man? Everything we get is a blessing. I'm just telling you, and we need to live our life realizing that everything we get is a blessing. And I'm gonna read this and I'm gonna move forward. I think this is interesting though. Matthew 20, okay. And you're talking about the parable of the workers in the vineyard. Does anybody know about that parallel? And it says, and I'm just going to kind of paraphrase this. This is over in Matthew 20. And it says that there was a landowner who went out to hire early in the morning, and he hired laborers, and he agreed with them for the laborers for a denarius a day. Okay. So he hired these people. He agreed a denarius a day is what I'll pay you to come out here and work for me. Okay. And then and he went out on the 3rd hour, and he saw others that were standing around, and he said to them, you also go, and whatever is right, I will give you. He's saying, look, this is 3 hours later. You go out and work, and when the end of the day comes, what's right, I'll pay you. And then you go down, and he says, as he goes down a little further, he goes, because no one hired us. These people were at the 11th hour, right? And he says, no one hired us while you stand around, because no one hired us. And he says, you go to the vineyard also, whatever is right, you will receive, right? And then as you go down in verse, this is Matthew 28, it says, when the evening had come, the owner of the vineyard said to his steward, call the laborers to give them their wages, beginning with the last to the first. He paid them all the same amount. He paid them all a denarius, right? And they were fired up about that, right? They were fired up saying, why? I mean, you can read it down here, and it says, and he said, these men have worked only 1 hour, and you made them equal to us, who has borne the burden of the heat, made them equal to us of the day. He answered them and said, friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for a denarius? Look, this is the agreement we had. This is what it is. Whatever I pay them does not matter. Whatever the Lord gives you does not matter. My life is my life with God. My life is not a comparison to where I am with other people, right? And comparing myself on, you're getting more than I'm working harder. We got to get out of that mindset, because people look at us. We need to bless people.
And that's actually getting ready to start happening. I'm not talking politics, but with the minimum wage thing.
Oh, sure.
I had this conversation at work with a gentleman on Thursday, and he was asking me, what if they raise minimum wage? Am I going to get a raise?
Sure.
And, I don't control that, first of all, but my response to him was you agreed what you agreed upon when you started.
That's right.
So you need to that's a discussion you need to have with someone else, but that's what you agreed upon.
You need to take what you get, man.
What somebody else is making, because you will know.
I'm telling you, that's right. And we need to get in a mindset that we are thankful for the things that we have, regardless if we cannot compare ourselves to other people. I'm telling you, we're all in a different life. We're all in a different thing. We're all, the goal is that we lead people to Christ. With what I have, I sit around and at Christmas time, and I look over there and what the heck, man, how did you get this present? Look at me, I'm over here getting this. And your kids look at that and you're like, look, you better be thankful you got anything, man, under the tree, right? You better be thankful you got anything. And I know that's kind of off subject, but I'm telling you, that's what it was, man. They looked at it and they said they were all blessed, man. They're all beginning to be married. They're all coming together and dealing with that stuff. So he gave them another test right there. They passed that test also. And let me ask you, the question that I've talked about is that whatever it is in our life, that we've got to deal with. I don't know if it's an addiction. I don't know if it's an anger issue. I don't know if it's a jealousy issue. The Lord is, I don't know if it's a drive-through issue, right? My issue is a drive-through, man. I can't get by that. 20 years, man. I still can't get by going to a drive-through. My blood pressure goes up. I get fired up. I lose my testimony every drive-through I go through. And so what does the Lord say? You're going to keep going through drive-throughs, and every time you go through a drive-through, I'm going to continue to make it difficult on you. They're going to mess your order up. They're going to take forever. They're not going to, and you're going to, you know, I think it before I go, and I still can't get over it, man. Whatever the test is in our life, whatever the complication is, believe me, God is going to continue to throw that your way until you deal with that complication, right? And then once you get that, when you get that done, and when you get past that, I've got a drug issue, and I'm getting past this thing. Well, then you're going to have another hurdle to jump, and you're going to have another hurdle to jump, and you're going to keep on going. And that's just the way we live. The Lord, and as we do that, if you look at your life now, and I'm the same place I was a year ago, and I'm dealing with the same issues and having the same difficulties and not moving any further forward, then my relationship with the Lord is not where it needs to be. Because, oh yeah, right. We're at different layers in our relationship with the Lord. So that's where we're at right there. So before we go into this next, because now we're going to go, and I'm just going to do kind of a conclusion thing for this past, whatever we have been through, because we are now getting into really the last phase of going forward with this and the finalization of this thing. So what I want to talk about is that, and you're talking about the brothers, and I want to talk about this in our lives. And this is just kind of, if we look at where the brothers were to where the brothers are now, okay? Now, what have they moved from? They've moved from fear to peace. Now, what do I mean they've moved from fear to peace? When you're talking about the money resolved, the issues resolved, they were over there. Where were they living? They were over there in Canaan, right? Fearful they didn't have enough food, right? Fearful they weren't going to make the journey. Fearful that they were gonna fail, and they were gonna die, and they were gonna. Now they've come over here fearful as all get out, and now they're peaceful. I mean, look at them. They're married. They're in the house. They're being fed. And I want you to look at Lamentations 3, and I want you to ask the question to yourself: are we still living in fear? Are we still living in fear, or have we moved in our relationship with the Lord from fear to peace? Am I peaceful now? Do I have peace in my life? I want you to read this over here in Lamentations 3, okay? And this is verse 21. And this says, "This I recall to my mind, therefore I have hope. Through the Lord's mercies, we are not consumed." Look, when I am living in fear, right? I'm living in the world, and I'm afraid the world is going to eat me up and take me out and do all this. And this says that through the Lord's mercies, we are not consumed. Do we understand that when we have it now that they are under the control of Joseph in his house, under his hand, right? Because of his mercies, they're not part of that world, and they're not going to be consumed now. They're going to be protected. As we live our life and we are in God's control, because of his mercy, is he going to help us? Is he going to take care of us? Is he going to say, "Chad, you're going to be okay, man. I know that the world is nasty, man. I know that things are going on out there. I know, but you don't have to live in fear." And it says, "Because his compassion fails not, they are new every morning." Now take some hope in that. Take some hope in that. When you're living in the peace of the Lord, every day is a new day, right? What does that mean, man? That means that I might have screwed everything up yesterday. I screw it up every day, man. And it says right here, his compassion fails not. He has compassion on me, and it fails not. And every morning he gives us new mercy. Every morning he gives us a new chance. Wherever we're at right now, tomorrow is a different day. Tomorrow is a different day. Yes, John. Do not live in fear, live in peace, that God has your back, man, that God is full of mercy, that he is compassionate on you, that he gives us new chances every day, right?
All he wants is that relationship.
All he wants is that relationship, man. And I'm telling you, and he's going to continue to make it difficult on us and test us until we really, come over to him and say, "Lord, I'm ready to submit, man." And these brothers are getting closer to that, and they're submitting more and more. And as we live our life in Christ, we should be getting to where we're living more, submitting more, just doing more of what God would have us to do. And it's, yeah, they are more anxious. Right. With our anxiety, that's right. Yep. Yep. Just fear and you talk about this, the coronavirus, and living in fear. I'm living in fear of going out. I'm living in fear of going here. I'm living in fear moving in our life from fear to peace, that God, you have this under control, man. I'm gonna give it to you, and I'm gonna believe it. Your mercies and compassion are new every morning. And it says, great is your faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore, I have hope in him. You will live in fear continually if I have hope in this world, if I have hope in my job, if I have hope in my health, if I have hope in the government, then I will live in fear, right? But if I have hope in him, who is the one that holds the world and the universe and my being in his hand, man? The Lord holds that in his hand. I'm telling you, his righteous right hand lifts down and lifts me up and picks me up and says, you're mine. You don't have to. Does that mean it's going to be easy? No. It says, look, you're going to have tribulations. You're going to have trials. But let me tell you what, don't worry about it, because I've overcome that. You have faith in me and trust in me. So then moving from anxiety to joy, right? Now, what were they? Well, I want to do this one first. Bondage to freedom. Now, let's ask that. How did they move? The brothers moved from bondage to freedom. What did they do? What was their bondage? They were literally in bondage. They were put in the prison cell. Simeon was left in the prison cell, right? When they came over and they brought Benjamin, Simeon was, here you go. He took him out of the prison cell. What is the bondage that we have in our life? What is holding us in bondage? And I'll go over there to John 8, and I'm going to read this, John 8, because I'm telling you, everybody has something that is keeping them in bondage. What is it? That's just tough, man. John 8. Oh, it's a lot of things. And look at 31. I'm going to read this. John 8:31. This is talking about moving from bondage to freedom. Okay. It says, then Jesus said to those Jews who believed him, if you abide in my word, what is abiding in Jesus' word? What does it mean to abide in it? Do what he says. Live in it. Take it in. How do I abide in the word of God if I don't ever read it? How do I abide in it if I don't ever pray to him? Right? Do we understand that when you talk about abiding in his word and abiding in the Bible, and this is a living testimony right here, right? This is a living word. This will actually change your life if you'll read it. You think, you sound crazy, man. I'm telling you, you read this thing, it'll read you, it'll change you. It says, if you abide in my word, you are my disciples indeed, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Tell me, what keeps me in bondage? Why do I stay in bondage in the world? Why? Fears. Who feeds my fears? Me. Who feeds me? The devil. Let me tell you what, man. Satan is telling me all the time, man, look, man, you'll never get by this. You'll never get past this. I'll tell you, you don't even need to try it, man, because you're never going to get over this. And he puts me in bondage, man. You're always going to be anxious. You're always going to hurt. You're always going to be fearful. Whatever it is, right? And he knows what we struggle with. And he'll tell you, you're always going to have a problem with pornography. You're always going to have a problem with drugs. You're always going to, and he keeps that. And what does God say? You come to me. This is what it says. You abide in my word, and the truth will make you free. If you abide in this, if you live in his word, and you go back to and say, God, I told you, you told me in your word, and I'm going to pray this back to you, that if I will come to you, that you will set me free, that you will bring me through the waters, that I will not be overtaken, that I can make it, right? And as you move forward, it says, they answered and said, we've never been in bondage to anyone. How can you say you will be made free? Jesus answered them and said, most assuredly, I say to you, whoever commits sin is a slave of sin. Okay. And slavery does not abide in the house forever, but a son abides forever. Therefore, if the Son makes you free, you shall be free indeed. If I live in my sin and I live in what the devil tells me and I don't bring that forward and bring that out, then I will always be bondage to it, right? I'm telling you, it doesn't matter what it is in your life. I mean, it can be your anger, it can be your drugs, it can be, I mean, I don't know what it is, man. But if you don't bring that forward and let somebody know about it, then you will always live in it. And the devil will always use it in your life to keep you in bondage. I'm telling you. So, that's why I confess every week, man. Look, I've done this. My anger, I've yelled at this person. I cussed this person out. I, went over here to whatever it is in your life, man, because I'm no better than you. You're no better than me, man. We're all in this together, right? We all have to deal with our stuff together. But what better way if we deal with each other? And I come to a sister or brother and say, hey, man, I need your help, right? I need you to help me. I need you to love me. So going from fear to peace, bondage to freedom, anxiety to joy. Now, let me ask you a question. These guys, they're not really, the brothers are not necessarily in full joy at this point, okay? Their circumstances are better. They're happy. Tell me the difference between happiness and joy. What is the difference between happiness and joy? Happiness is temporary. Depends on your circumstances. That's right. I got a better job, man. I got a raise. I'm happy. How long are you happy in that job? Not long, and then I'm miserable again, right? My kids did well on this test and they're doing well in school and I'm happy. How long is that? Till they flunk the next test, right? That's my circumstances. What is joy? Joy is within my heart, man. Joy is knowing that God has control over my life. Okay. And that is going from anxiety to joy. Anxiety is, man, I can't make it, man. I don't know what's going on. And joy is, Lord, deep in my soul, deep in my heart, I know you've got my life in your hand. I know that. Look over here in Isaiah. We're gonna read in Isaiah, and let's go to 40. And this is Isaiah 40. And I'm going to read right here, starting in verse 28. It says, have you not known? Have you not heard? The everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, neither faints nor is wearied, right? When you're talking about when you're anxiety and you're anxious and you're what, that's because I'm putting my faith in myself, right? And and I know I'm going to fail, right? Joy is knowing God is not going to fail. It says his understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the weak, and to those who have no might, he increases their strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary. The young men shall utterly fall. But those who wait on the Lord shall what? Those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength, right? I can't do it myself. I can't take care of my anxiety myself. But I'm telling you, if I wait on the Lord, I pray and I abide in his word, he can take care of that anxiety. He can take care of that. He can renew my strength. It says, they shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint, right? Listen, where is our faith? Where are we putting our faith? Where am I putting my trust? I'm telling you, you can't put it in this world. You can't put it in your job. You can't put it in your health. We've heard all kinds of job issues. We've heard all kinds of health issues. We've all kinds of anxiety. One episode, I got a lady that I've worked with that had COVID, right? She was doing well, man, and working and doing well and whatever. All of a sudden got COVID, man. 10 liters oxygen, right? She's now down to 4, can't do anything, can't work anymore, is at the house, you have all this faith and all this stuff. One thing can take it away from you just like that. I'm just telling you, the only thing that'll ever stay true in our life is the Lord. It isn't your family. It's not even my wife, not even my parents, not my kids. It is the Lord that will stay faithful in that. But these guys have, and this is where we're at, because Joseph is not done in their life at this point. Okay. They're doing better, right? They passed a couple tests. They've changed their attitudes, but they still have a false joy. And what do I mean by a false joy? They still had not dealt with their sin completely. They still have not confessed to Joseph. They still have not apologized to their father, right? They still haven't done. So they're living in a false joy. And it says that false joy and false peace is not good just because my life is easier. Does that make sense? Just because my life is easier does not mean that I'm in the place that I should be, right?
Because you're always living, you're waiting and paying for that for the fall.
Sure.
And
That's right. And it's just right. Just because all of a sudden my finances have got better and now I can pay my house bill and things like that, that doesn't mean that every problem in my life is solved. Right. The Lord is still telling me, Chad, you know what your problem is. And it doesn't matter if you're doing better right now, because I'm telling you what, that isn't going to last long. And all of a sudden you're going to have to deal with that issue that's in your life. And the enemy tends to leave you alone as my life is better and I'm doing good and everything. And I say, well, I don't really need to deal with this over here because I'm doing okay, man. Everything seems good. And the devil says, you don't need to deal with this sin in your life, man. Just let that alone for a while. Well, tell me what if that sin is not going to pop back up in your life? Tell me what. And I'll give you, a couple examples that I'm talking about. And I just wrote down here Noah and Lot. Do we know what were the people during Noah's time doing? Do we know? Do we know who Noah is? Noah was told to build a boat, right? Noah was told to build a boat. Lord came and said, look, no, I want you to build a boat. Build a boat, man. It's never even rained. I don't even know what a boat is, man. And they said, I'm telling you, build a boat because there's a rain coming, right? All the people look at Noah, and this is where they have this false peace and this false joy. And they're looking at Noah and they're like, what are you doing, man? And I'll read you a scripture in a second, but it says, why are you building that boat? What is a boat? We don't have any rain. There's nothing going on. Noah's saying, look, man, you need to change your life, man. You're living in sin. The Lord's getting ready to judge you and getting ready to, and they're like, you're crazy, man. My life's great, man. I'm eating, I'm drinking, I'm married. I'm okay, man. Right. Until that boat, right? Noah did that. And I wrote down, and I'm trying to see right here. I think it was 100, I don't know, 120 years or something like that. Building that boat, witnessing to those people, telling them, you need to change your life, man. They're like, my life's good, man. I'm okay, right? How long has it been? Has it been a year in my life that I've been good and I've been okay and I haven't been dealing with that stuff going on? Until the Lord closes the door. And I'm telling you, once he closed the door on that boat and the rain started falling and the rain started gushing up through the ground, and those people outside the door, beating on the door saying, hey, man, open the door up. And he said, look, man, I gave you a chance. I told you to do something different in your life and you didn't do it. Yeah, you felt okay. And yeah, you were doing good, but we all have convictions in our life, right? We all know what we need to change, but we're just not willing to take that step to change it until the Lord is going to come to us and say, you know what, man, I gave you enough time. You never change it. And I'm going to hammer you right now, right? He may not have us outside of the boat, but we don't know what he's going to do, right? You look at Lot. What happened with Lot? Lot went with Abraham's nephew, right? They had all their land and all their stuff. And he said, look, you choose a place, Lot, and I'll choose a place where two big, we're together. Lot chose this way, right? Right to Sodom and Gomorrah. What was going on in Sodom and Gomorrah? Sexual sin, man, all kinds of stuff. And Lot fed right into that, never changed his life and never changed the way he was living, right? Lord saying, look, Lot, you know better than this. You know better than this, until he came and he destroyed the whole place, right? Fire and brimstone, man. I'm going to take it out. I'm going to do it. Look over here let's look at Luke 17. I'm just going to read this, and I want you to think about this in your life, because where are we at in that? Where are we at in dealing with the stuff that God is telling us we need to deal with? Because we all have it. I'm not the only one, right? I'm not the only one that's not dealing with that, because my life's pretty good, man. We continually, just like it says at the church here, it says, look, we're not a pond, right? What does that mean? We're a river. What does that mean? If things are going okay, am I going to let myself get stagnant and not make any changes, right? I've told the story before, when you're floating out there in the ocean and it looks smooth and good and you're cool, and I'm out there floating around on my raft out there, and I'm just chilling, right? Next thing I know, I look up, man, and my wife is a mile down this way. And I'm like, what in the world, man? How did I get down here? I was just laying in this raft out here, right? Now you're floating down the ocean. Same thing in your life. If I am not moving forward, if I'm not actively doing something in my life, tell me where you're going to go. You're going to float in the wrong direction, and you're going to look up and say, how did I get this far away from where I should be? Right? I'm just telling you, that's what God's telling us. If you're doing okay right now, Start looking at your life and start seeing what you can change and start seeing how you can grow and how I can get closer to the Lord. It says over here in Luke 17, let's read verse 26. Luke 17:26, if I can see it. All righty. It says, and it was in the days of Noah. This is Jesus talking. And it was in the days of Noah, so it will also be in the days of the Son of Man. They ate, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark. Right, just out there chilling, man. And the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise, it also was in the days of Lot. They ate, drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they built. But on the day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven to destroy them all. Even so will it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. Even so it will be when God comes back down, opens up the sky and comes to get us, right? Who knows who's here, if you're living right, if you're saved, if you're not. But I'm telling you, there's a day coming that the Lord is going to come back. And I'm looking, it just doesn't seem like it could be too long to me, man. He's going to say, look, how are you living, Chad? What are you doing? Are you living for me? That's what these boys are doing right here. They're just living in this false peace and joy and whatever. And our ways are not the best ways, right? And I'm just going to read this and then we'll move forward. Proverbs 14. This is Proverbs 14. Proverbs 14:12. Okay. Proverbs 14:12. Look right here. There is a way that seems right to man, right? There is a way that seems right to man. There is a way that seems right to me. But in the end is the way of death, right? That's exactly right, man. Where are we living right now? How are we living right now? Are there things that we need to change in our life that God is telling us we need to change, but we feel comfortable? We're just living our life, man. And God's saying, I'm telling you, man, you're gonna have to change this. You're gonna have to answer for it. Change it. Right. And that's where they are. So they're getting changed. They're doing pretty good. They're moving forward. But now we're gonna get down into the last phase. And this is Genesis 44. Okay. And we don't really have much time, so we'll just kind of skim this a little bit right here. But in Genesis 44, these boys are right here. They've been drinking and eating and being merry. They're feeling better. Their circumstances are better. They're feeling pretty good, right? They've seen Joseph. What was Joseph the first time they came? How did he deal with them? He dealt with them pretty harshly, right? I mean, he was like, you guys are a bunch of spies. You're here to take over the land. You're here to spy it out. You're here to do whatever. Now they've seen another side to Joseph, right? They've seen a compassionate side. They've seen a loving side. They've seen a side that's welcomed them in. So they're feeling pretty good about themselves, right? And they're getting ready to go, and they're like, everything's going good, and we're cruising out. And he said he commanded the steward of the house, and we won't get into this, but I'm going to read it. It says, and he commanded the steward of the house, saying, fill the men's sacks with food, as much as they can carry. Put each man's bundle of money in the mouth of his sack. So I get a kick out of that, man. You know, again, he's saying, take their money. They brought their money back, put their money back in their sack, fill their sack up to the top. And it says, and put my cup, the silver cup, in the mouth of the sack with the youngest, okay, and his grain money. That's where they are. So he sends them out, gives them grain. They're headed to the house. They're thinking that they're not going to have much more to do with Joseph, right? Joseph says, look, you put money back in their sack, fill their sacks up, and I want you to take my silver cup, and I want you to put it in the youngest one's bag. Okay. Why did he want to do that? Do we know? And this is kind of, huh? To give them provisions, right? Yeah. But Joseph, I'm telling you, Joseph, these guys have done well. Okay. They've changed. I mean, they've been good to Benjamin. They've been good, but they still haven't really confessed where they're at. They really haven't confessed their sin fully and done and whatever. So he is saying, okay, I want you to take my cup, my silver cup, and I want you to put it in the youngest one's sack. What are they going to do with that thing? I want you to think about that, because that's where we're going to be next week. What is, and this took me a while to understand. you know, why is Joseph, is he just trying to be cruel to these guys? I mean, is he trying to be mean to them? Why does he keep putting them through all these things, man? Why is he doing all this stuff to them? Because he's a parallel with Jesus, right? Look, man, the Lord, until we really get it, right? God's going to continually test us. Are we ever going to be there? We're never going to be there. So, I mean, that goal line's always moving, right? You do better now. And as I'm moving forward, but it's just interesting. And this is when you come back into the point of when they have the 11 brothers that were sitting at the table, that he took every one and put them in their birth order and did all that, the 1 to 40 million odds, right? Now you've got this silver cup that's back in the bag. These guys are cruising home and they're doing good. And all of a sudden they're going to be overtaken. And we're going to see the next phase of the story. And this is where it ends not next week, but a couple weeks. Okay. This is where we're at. And I want to ask, and Sharon, you can stop the taping if you want. My thought going forward. Okay. And I don't know what I'm thinking really, just to be honest.